All right, Transformers. Angelo Reynolds Sr. here live. So welcome to this evening's Transformation Vitamin. And I've had fun. I know you guys have because I've gotten your comments and so forth. So we want to jump right in. This week's Transformational Vitamin is Ph.D. to convicted felon. Obviously, I'm talking about, my title is backwards. Let's see here. I can't see the title. I get my son to post this stuff, so maybe he did. Okay, so if it's backwards. No, it's not backwards. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so you would say, maybe you're saying convicted felon to PhD. No, it didn't happen that way. So you almost got me on that one. So it was PhD to convicted felon. So I shared a story and I've been talking about it. Being at the pinnacle of success in academia, holding a doctorate degree in education and psychology, and then having to take a serious dive from a legal standpoint and becoming a convicted felon. So those persons who've followed my story, obstacles and challenges is something that I always talk about because I feel like it's something that we all experience. And so as I began this week talking about overcoming any obstacle, I wanted to keep in mind some obstacles that you may have had. And so I don't know where you are in terms of your walk of transformation or obstacles or anything of that magnitude, but I do know that you either have had some obstacles, you're having some now, or you shall have something in the future. Does that make sense? Okay. So with that said, if you're on the air, I like to open the forum up. If you guys have gone to YouTube, like many of you have, you see the content there. But just to give you a quick overview of some of the do's and don'ts. I don't like to call them do's and don'ts, but some of the things that you can do and don't do. Some of the things that I did of making the mistake while trying to overcome some of these obstacles. Number one, I just suggest wholeheartedly that you, if by all means possible, to stay away from alcohol and drugs. And the reason why I talk candidly about that is because of my addiction, succumbing to alcohol abuse for years. Remember, the tumultuous time and the detrimental social ills of any type of toxic things that can bring you down further, almost into self-destruction. You want to stay as far away from those things as possible. Also, remember to keep in mind and try as much as possible to find some positivity. I know it's looming, it's dark. It may not seem like there's no end to it, but remember there's a beginning and there's always an end. And so if we begin these things with an ending in mind, it gives us sort of like a blueprint or sort of a direction wise. The other thing I talk candidly about is being hopeful and finding daily affirmations and things to remind yourself of a temporary struggle or obstacle, whatever that may be. And so sometimes in the midst of those things, we have to find a pathway to escape. What do you mean by that? Finding a new direction, whether it's an environment, whether it's people, whether it's toxic places where we're currently going or remind ourselves of. Those are things that we have to readily remove ourselves from because those things only toxify and make the obstacle and challenge that much greater. And so when I was going through my serious setback years of obstacles, one thing tended to lead to the next. I know the biggest obstacle that I had was my self-destructive behavior. And that was the overusage and abusage of alcohol. And so for years, intoxicating my body with something that you all know, alcohol abuse leads to depression. And so not being able to rid that in the time that it took me to finally get clean is something that I suggest that if you are now a casual drinker and someone who casually smokes and drinks, just be very mindful that in the midst of combating and overcoming these obstacles, you don't want those things to become self-destructive and using it as a way that's so combative that it literally ruins you, because that's what literally happened to me almost. The other thing was, for me, when I say Ph.D. to convicted felon, I talk about not being able to become employed for 6 years. That is, having credentials, having experience, but because of the felony conviction at that time, could not go into and obtain a sound employment. And so those are things that sort of read and made it more of a looming situation than it appeared. Although I would say that is the time when I talk candidly about creativity, finding your niche, finding your passion. It was there that I discovered my niche and love to teach people, write books, speak, and empower people to bring them up and help them to overcome obstacles, challenges, the agonies of defeat, failures, and setbacks, and how to get your mind together. And so that's what I've been doing. When I say PhD to felony conviction, I talk not in a boastful manner, but in a way that's tutorial and guidance. And so if you've ever had a challenge or obstacle, I'm sure you have, you know that by any means you have to find, whether it's people, whether it's environments, or whether it's your own inner strength to overcome those struggles. And so what is best for you may not be feasible or best for the next person. So if you're on the air now, like I see that you are, and you have specific questions, feel free. Someone had come up and say, well, you have the title backwards. Well, no, the title isn't backwards. I thought for a minute we had made some error in terms of posting tonight, but the title is a PhD to convicted felon. That was a journal, a journey of tumultuous down spiral, if you will, from being at the highest level going to what I call a temporary, almost insanity way of going to overcoming obstacles. And so it's almost imperative that you treat these obstacles with very serious kind and well direction, because in the midst of all those things, you never want to get into a position where you become so discouraged, become non-motivated, and just give up. And that's what happens with a lot of people. And that's what my goal is from the Transformers Academy, is to make sure that I give you weekly information, resources, information that can empower you and bring you up, lift you up from personal and professional standpoint. Because in the Transformers Academy, our focus is an evolving process of going from one place to the next. Relationships, career, spiritual, educational, and also health. And these things, I believe, as part of a moving process that you will evolve and be a part of in one place or another. Sometimes these things are in sync, and sometimes they come at various points within your walk of transformation. So when you think about transformation, I want you to think all this week as we're discussing PhD to convicted felon, but your own struggles with obstacles and what matters have you taken in hand. And if you still have a lingering obstacle, listen, guys, we have personal one-on-one coaching, executive coaching. We have all those things that are one-on-one that you can be a part of. If you go through the Transformers Academy, go to DrAngeloReynolds.com, find out how you can become a transformer through the subscription there, and we'll make sure that we have one-on-one personal contact with you. You can also send me an email at DrAngeloReynolds.com. Go to YouTube, find this content posted there, LinkedIn, all social media. And so every day at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be on the air following out this week's Transformational Vitamin. We hope that you guys would share some time with us, that you would not necessarily talk candidly and openly about your own personal obstacle, but some things that you see that may be beneficial to those persons who may be watching. Okay? I'm Angelo Reynolds, Senior, that is. This is the Transformers Academy, and this is another broadcast of this week's Transformational Vitamin of PhD to convicted felon. What is your obstacle, and what are you doing to overcome it? Tomorrow night, we'll be back on, if it's God's will. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, live on Periscope. Guys, thank you for following us. Thank you all for all the smiley faces, all the hearts, and all those things that you do to encourage us, to motivate us, so that we can help you make a better choice and impact people that you're already doing in the world. I'm Angelo Reynolds, Senior. Until tomorrow, be blessed, be the best, overcome those obstacles. We'll see you then. Peace and love.